Hello friends, thanks again for tuning in for the next installment of my breakdown of the actual Girard-Perregaux Sea Hawk diver's watch that I acquired recently. I've done a one overall video that focuses on all the sort of parts, but very sort of briefly, and as I promised, I'm going to be looking each week now at a particular focus area. So today's focus area is going to be on the dial and the actual movement behind this Swiss high-end automatic diver's watch. The actual dial itself is one of the things that really drew me to this piece. There is so much depth and so much texture to the actual dial that it's really something to actually sort of behold. The first thing that you will notice is the waffling on the actual dial itself. So we can see there we've got this sort of honeycomb patterning that sort of occurs all over the actual watch itself. The constituent parts, so the hands and the indices, they're actually quite large. So now obviously for a diver's watch, that's something that you really want and you really need. And on first glance, the dial can actually look a little bit sort of messy, but I've got to be honest with you, as time has gone on, it's actually very ergonomically laid out in my sort of opinion. The hands are really large, we can see there. We've got the actual hour hand there, which is silver with sort of applied lume inside, and I'll do a lume shot later on for you guys. Then we can actually see the minute hand there is in orange, and that's really what you need essentially for a diver's watch. So they've used colour to a really good effect here. The other thing that I like is with these hour markers, you can see that they are basically raised, and you know there's several millimeters involved here. I think probably at least 3 millimeters tall, and again with the applied lume. The other thing that I really like is the actual power reserve indicator. So that's a really important feature for divers, and what's actually quite nice about it is the way that sort of, you know, we got wind, which is, you know, minimal sort of power left in the movement, but as you go through each sort of stage of the power reserve, it sort of incrementally sort of rises, and the way that they've done that in the sort of the graphical layout is really nice. And again, we've got a really small power reserve indicator hand there as well. The seconds hand has been applied roughly between the 9 and the 10 o'clock position, and again a really nice sort of ergonomics. We've got the white on black, then we've got that sort of flash of color with the orange, which really sort of makes the legibility really sort of tip top on this piece. We've got very sort of subtle Girard-Perregaux branding there, and obviously they've tried to keep that quite minimal because the focus of attention has really been on the actual dial layout. The other feature that I really love about this watch is the actual date window that we can see there between 1 and 2, and look at the depth to that. And if you look below the surface of the dial, you can actually see there is a framing of a silver sort of metal. I'm not quite sure what it is. And then it's actually below that you actually have the date disc. So there is a tremendous amount of depth to the actual watch, and I suppose there should be an element of depth because, you know, the case is actually quite sort of thick. It's about 17 millimeters there. So, you know, in terms of the dial layout, really nicely sort of done, really legible.
Friends, are you enjoying the video so far? If so, please consider liking and subscribing, and please let me know if there's anything I can improve for your viewing content.
And one thing that I feel I've really got to do is to actually wind up the power reserve, so you can actually sort of see that in play, and once it's wind, you really do get that sort of satisfaction of seeing that power reserve needle go up. You might be wondering as to why the time has not moved, so I simply pulled out the crown, so the hour and the minute hand were in a position whereby I could explain and sort of discuss the ergonomic layout of the actual piece. Now, the actual the movement itself is the Girard-Perregaux 03300. That's the reference number, and that is an in-house caliber. So that is one that is manufactured 100% in-house by Girard-Perregaux. And what they then do, and it's really a tried and tested caliber, one that they've been using for a number of years, and that old adage goes into play here, where if it ain't broke, don't fix it, and it's been used in their past iterations of the actual Sea Hawk. But one thing that they have done to sort of step it up and to modernize it is add further modules to it, so the power reserve indicator, the additional seconds hands, and the date window. So they've applied those modules onto the actual base caliber, and it does keep really good time, and in the future I'll be doing a time test on it for you guys to actually sort of view and assess. But this is a very high-end haute horlogerie caliber that they're actually using here, so really finished well, high levels of finishing. Sadly, you don't actually see it on the actual watch itself, because it does have a solid screw back, and that I will discuss in future videos as to why they haven't opened it up as an exhibition case back, so you can actually see the gorgeous sort of finishing that you would actually have on the actual movement. So, I hope you have enjoyed this actual video on the actual movement itself and on the dial layout. And please do come back to actually view future videos on the case construction, the bezel operation, the crown operation, and the actual strap itself.